In a world that's just overflowing with information, what if the most valuable skill isn't about knowing more, but about thinking clearly? Today, we're going to dig into a pretty provocative idea that the simple act of deep thinking is becoming a luxury, a skill that's going to define the leaders of tomorrow. Let's get into it.
This quote from our source material really just sets the stage perfectly. Thinking is becoming rare, and soon it might become a luxury only a few can afford. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. A fundamental human ability, something we all just assume is universal, is on its way to becoming some kind of exclusive commodity. So, how on earth did we get to a point where thinking itself is at risk? Let's unpack that.
So how does this even happen? Well, it starts with our new default state in this digital age. We don't really think anymore. Instead, like this slide says, we just consume. It's this constant, passive fire hose of information, media, and content just streaming right into our minds with almost no filter.
And what's our main tool for all this consumption? The scroll. That endless, mindless scroll. We're being served up a feed that's not really designed for our well-being or our growth, right? It's engineered to do one thing: capture and hold our attention. It's become this constant, quiet hum in the background of all our lives.
And this whole cycle of consuming and scrolling, it leads to the final step in the loop, as you see right here. We just react. It's a quick, an angry share, that immediate emotional response that gets triggered by a headline. I mean, look at that cycle. Consume, scroll, react. It's a closed loop, and what's deliberately left out is the most important part, the space to actually think.
Now, what's really fascinating is that this phenomenon actually has a name: brain hijacking. It's defined as a process where algorithms are, they're essentially making decisions for us. They're deciding what we see, shaping what we believe, and even influencing what we want. And the really crucial part, the whole thing is designed to bypass our slow, deliberate, conscious thought.
And this slide just perfectly illustrates the battle we're all in. This brain hijacking thrives by creating a very specific environment. Just look at these two columns. On one side, you've got the world of noise. That's our default setting, right? Endless scrolling, constant notifications, algorithmic feeds. It's easy, it's distracting, it's always on. But then you look at the other column, the world for thinking. Well, that has some serious requirements. It requires time, it requires silence, and get this, it requires discomfort, that willingness to just sit with a hard problem without an easy answer. Our entire environment is actively built to keep us locked in that first column.
So what's the real cost of living 24/7 in that world of noise? Well, as this slide puts it so powerfully, the first casualty is silence. And we're not just talking about the kind of quiet you can hear. We're talking about mental silence, that critical empty space between all the inputs where our brain can finally just breathe, connect ideas, and truly process everything. And the consequence of losing that mental silence is absolutely enormous. We lose something way more valuable than just peace and quiet. We lose our ability to think deeply, to connect different ideas, to wrestle with tough problems, and to form our own original thoughts, instead of just, echoing what everyone else is saying. So this brings us to a really critical question. If most people are caught in this reactive, unthinking loop, who are the ones who are going to navigate the massive complexities of the future? Who's actually going to be in charge?
And the answer, really, is crystal clear. The leaders of the future won't be defined by what they consume, but by how they think. They'll be the ones who've mastered these three skills right here. First, clarity, the ability to see right through the noise. Then, focus, the power to resist that constant pull of distraction. And finally, choice, the discipline to act deliberately, instead of just being manipulated by what an algorithm feeds them. These aren't just soft skills anymore. In this new world, they're basically superpowers.
And here's where this whole idea gets really radical. We're not talking about the old school ways we measure success. The old metrics, degrees, IQ scores, awards, they're becoming less and less important. The leaders of tomorrow won't necessarily be the people who test the best.
They will simply be the ones who have protected and nurtured their ability to think. In an age where deep thought is being outsourced to machines, the person who can still do it themselves, they hold the ultimate advantage. The new divide isn't going to be between the smart and the less smart, it's going to be between the thinkers and the reactors. Which brings us to this final, really powerful takeaway. In a noisy world, quiet minds become powerful. This is the core idea, right here. True power, true influence is shifting. It's moving away from those who just consume information to those who can process it, who can synthesize it with clarity. So the question this explainer really leaves us with is a personal one. In a world that is designed from the ground up to hijack your attention, what are you doing to protect your last free place, your own mind? Thanks for joining us.